Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Figuring Out Fridays, brought to you by Healing Your Way. We're happy to have all of you back. We're down a member today. He unfortunately had a work that happened during this time, so we're without Mike. But the rest of the crew are with us today, and we have a really good topic today. We're going to be talking about functional movement training and the importance of incorporating it into your weekly routine, at least. And we have a lot of information as far as how to um, uh, pick the correct exercises, what you should be looking for when you're starting to incorporate some type of functional movement training program, and all of that sort of good stuff. And just one thing before we start and get into the conversation, like always, please guys make sure to like and subscribe to all of our social media channels. We really appreciate the support so far. We've gotten a good amount of viewers recently, around 10 viewers the last episode and a couple of episodes before that. So I really appreciate your guys' support, and just keep it up, because the more you guys like and follow our platforms and our content, the better and the better the content we can provide you, and the better information we can give to you, and we can put much more time and effort and really give you guys some good stuff here. So make
And
sure.
I just wanted to say, there's been a couple of videos posted up as well on our joint Instagram account, on Coin HYW KHOUNH.HYW. There's a couple of videos when we did the challenge. They're up right now if you want to go check it out.
Yeah, so definitely check out that Instagram channel. That's gonna be content coming from myself and my brother. We're gonna be posting health and wellness information on there as well, and also like we've been doing, we're gonna still be posting content on all of our platforms existing right now. And make sure you please go follow and like and subscribe to those. Like I've always been saying, we're here on Rumble. We're also on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. So please check out all of those channels and give us a like and follow for more tips and information. But yeah, moving on to the conversation. Um, I kind of want to start with uh, the essential movement patterns that everyone should kind of be incorporating when they're picking exercises for their routine and doing things like that. So right here we have a diagram of the 7 basic movement patterns. We have squat, lunge, push, pull, bend, which is also the same thing as a hinge movement, twist, which is also counts for rotation and anti-rotation exercises, and gait or locomotion exercises, which occur while you're in motion, moving either forward or backward, left or right. And if I kind of had to sum up what you should be including in your resistance training or functional movement training, this is pretty much the bread and butter of what you guys should be incorporating into your training regimen. You need a squat, a lunge, a push, a pull, a bend, a twist, and a gait. And that's really going to set you up for a lot of success, not just for your goals in general fitness, but even for performance in sport or any other physical activity. This is going to help you out tremendously, because it's pretty much going to add strength and stability to all of these movements. And these movements are actually essential to life. The squat, the lunge, and everything here, they're all functional movements that we see in everyday life. They might not represent themselves exactly in these forms, but there are so many instances where uh, the muscles that activate these certain movements are super useful. For example, if you're bending down to pick up a box or something, you would that's pretty much applying the squat movement. If you're bending down to pick up a baseball, that's the lunge movement. If you're trying to push something across the room, or push something up a ramp into a truck, that would be a pushing movement. Pulling movement, if you're walking the dog, and the dog's getting away from you, you're pulling the dog back to make sure that it's walking with you, and your dog's not going to run over and run away and get loose or something. Bending down, of course, we that can be applied in so many different scenarios. Twisting and gait. The best way I can explain gait is I kind of like the word locomotion better. It's pretty much any type of movement when you're in motion, like walking, running, and things like that. So
And
y-
for like twist and bend, I would say like even when you're twisting for like when you're training for a punch or when you're turning around to get something, that would be something like a twist. And like bend would also be, say you have like children, if you pick up your child, that would be another version of a bend. And so yeah, that's another example.
yeah, and when you look at these different movement patterns, what you want to do is identify an exercise that falls within each of these movement categories, and you're going to want to pick an exercise that that is suitable for you because for example, let's just pick the squat. uh, Not everyone can do something as advanced as a barbell back squat, and in order for you to get to that strength and to that level, you need to start by regressing yourself as far as you need in down the movement. So regression can pop up in many different ways. You can regress the squat by adding support and stability through something like a TRX. A TRX is a tool seen in gyms where it's pretty much it's suspended from a little hook, and it has two handles that you can use to support your weight when you're doing something such as a squat or a lunge. It's very common. A lot of PT clinics have it. A lot of gyms have it, and that's a really good way to regress the movement so that you can start to have a base and then progress onto harder variations. And through the harder variations, you can even progress to the point where you're adding load to your exercises, which is going to be good. And the reason I like adding load to the exercise is um, uh, I can kind of put it into perspective for you like this. You you want your body to be significantly stronger than the demands that life gives you. So, for example, for like we just talked about, the squat, bending down and picking up things, you want that to be something that's not very tedious, not very hard. And the way to do that is to be significantly stronger than what you're required to do by life's everyday demands. And say you're able to do a 315-pound squat, then that means picking up a little box off the ground shouldn't be any big deal of you. Of course, I'm picking the extreme weight like a 315 squat, but being proficient in these movements will set you up for lots of success in daily life, and it's gonna do so much more things such as preventing injury and preventing a lot of bad and harmful things from occurring, and it's gonna also um, help with longevity as well, which is
And
which is super
as
important.
I just want to say, as for squat, you could also do things like goblet squat or box squats, which are other variations. The targeted muscles would be your hamstrings, glutes, quads, and your calves. And these would replicate things like standing, even just standing up, or climbing upstairs in everyday life, things like that. So doing these movements will definitely help you make life a lot easier than it is right now.
Yeah, I think I think that's a good point we should move on from. I think I'm gonna now, since Joshin just uh, showed some examples of the muscles that you're targeting when you're doing the squat, and also examples of them. I guess I can just move straight into the lunge patterns. Um, lunge is going to be very similar to your squat. It's going to be done in the sagittal plane, and as far as daily application, it's going to help with things like walking, running, stepping off curbs, and avoiding falls. And as you can see from that list I just gave you, those are everyday movements that that you need to be sufficient in. If you can't walk, run, do things like step off curbs and avoid falls, you're really prone to injuries and other bad things. So that's just another example of why you should you should be incorporating a number of these movements in your functional movement training. And then to build off of that, the muscles that you're going to be working in the lunge pattern are going to, like I said, be similar to the squat pattern, which is going to be your glutes, your quads, hamstrings, and your calves.
And you can also engage your core while doing things like squat or lunge as well.
Because they stabilize their stabilizer muscles, right?
Mhm.
I have a question. What do you guys think about like the big three movements that most bodybuilders do? Would you say that it requires like it fulfills all the essential movement goals, or do you think you need something more?
I would say, so you're referring to squat, bench, deadlift, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So for the squat, bench, and deadlift, those are some of the prime examples, or like the pinnacles of these movement patterns. The barbell squat would be for the squat. The barbell bench press would be for the pushing movements, and then the deadlift would be for your bed movements. I think those are very solid exercises, but they still don't encompass the entire range of all your different movement patterns, because you're still leaving out a number of patterns, which include the lunge, the pull, the twist, and the gate. And also, you have to remember that for the two movements, push and pull, you have vertical and horizontal for each of those. So you have vertical push and you have horizontal push, and then you also have vertical pull and horizontal pull. So the bench press would fall under a horizontal push, and you're neglecting some type of overhead press or push exercise that is in the vertical direction, and you're pretty much neglecting all pulling exercises with that. You'll
Are
get
these
some stimulation from the deadlift, but nowhere near enough.
are these like different directions? Are they affecting like different parts of the muscle, or are they like like different directions can hit different striations? Like for the chest example, like they do different angles to hit like the different parts or striations of the chest to go in the same direction for better like muscle growth.
So that pretty much depends on the variation that you choose for each of the movement patterns. What these are going to do, they're going to definitely target. These are going to target certain muscles in general, and you're pretty much your prime movers. But as far as angles and exactly what you're working, that can all be manipulated on how you do the exercise and what variation of the exercise you choose. And there's like a number, and there's literally just so many different variations you can choose for all of these movement patterns. And I apologize about my camera.
And
Yeah.
the certain muscles that you use while doing the pushing movement will be your chest, shoulders, and your triceps mainly. And for the vertical pushing movement, there'll be overhead press, and they'll mainly target your shoulders, which would be your delts.
And
So
Joshawn mentioned oh sorry, you go ahead.
I was saying for beginners, right, that are just learning these movements, could you guys explain why you think it would be important for them to train both horizontal and vertical pressing?
I think just for beginners, it's a good habit to build, and just like we've been saying, those both the horizontal and the vertical are key movements in everyday life. There are cases where you're going to have to lift things overhead, as well as be able to push things off of you. I actually think in a functional sense, the overhead or the vertical push would be more reminiscent of everyday activities, because you're more likely to push something overhead than you are in front of you, especially something that's heavy. You would usually be lifting up or pushing overhead. But I think it's just good practice to be sufficient in both vertical and horizontal, because there are so many cases where you would need strength in both places.
So would you also add that like longevity of like the human body also this would benefit from?
Yeah, because
Like,
I I I took a class um, in college called Exercise Prescription, and we reviewed some articles, and it showed the correlation between people that were incorporating some level of functional movement training and people who were not, and the risks of things like falls or incidents occurring was much higher in the people that didn't incorporate any type of strength training because they were more susceptible to things like injury or deaths by fall. You would be surprised there. Uh, Falling is like a one of like uh, is a very prominent cause of death, and you're not negating, but you're giving it way less of a risk when you're becoming sufficient and incorporating movement patterns like this. So I think longevity longevity wise, there's definitely more benefits than just avoiding falls, but it's really just going to help you in the long run.
so this is like an investment for your future self.
Yeah, it's an investment for your future self, but I think it should also be something that's like second nature to you. That's part of your routine. We all have routines, whether they might be basic or very intense. Something This should be something that you incorporate on a weekly basis.
And people, I would say people tend to neglect their stabilizer muscles, which would, in the long run, uh, would prevent you from keeping yourself like stable, or like keeping, even when you're older, your muscles are going to be a little weaker and things like that. And by doing these functional movements, you're also making sure your bone density is it will actually improve your bone density, and there's a lot of things that come with doing these functional movements, which will help you in the long run.
I was actually about to ask you. I'm actually guilty of this, but a lot of people think that since like bench pressing and squatting like also works your stabilizer muscles, like your abdomen, that means you don't have to do ab workouts since they'll be increasing in strength while doing all these other workouts at the same time anyway.
Yeah, that's why that kind of poses the question of oh, should I use free weights or machines? Because machines will give you that added stability, which will decrease that demand for the stabilizer muscles that you were talking about. Of course, you are technically training them when you're using free weights because they are working to stabilize your prime movers that are doing the movement, that are primarily doing the movement. But I think if it's something you're struggling with, or you think your stabilizer muscles are holding you back from being able to proficiently perform a squat correctly, then I think it's an area to focus on. But I think that's why most people consider using free weights more functional than things like machines. And
Yeah,
and
and
not to say one's worse than the other. It's just that they have different purposes, and you just have to be smart about how you are utilizing
And I have an example. Like I would usually use the Smith machine for my bench press, and when which would definitely not use I wouldn't use my stabilizers as much, like my core. And as soon as I tried to do free weight bench press, I noticed that a lot of the weight compared to when I did free weights a long time ago, I was a little weaker because I my stabilizers weren't as strong, and I was used to using the Smith machine, which held up the weight uh, in a way for me, so that I could just use my chest muscles. So I would recommend doing those free weight exercises every once in a while, or maybe switch it from doing the Smith machine or things like that every now and then, so that you can challenge your stabilizer muscles.
So you would say that free weight is more training your stability, and Smith is more solely focused on that one muscle and building more muscle in that one thing, that one
Mhm.
muscle group.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna isolate certain muscle groups and require less stability. But like I said before, that doesn't take away anything from the exercise. It's just the reality of what's happening. So it doesn't really mean that, oh, this is it's a better or a worse exercise. It just serves a different purpose uh, than another exercise. Not to say that it's bad or anything. But yeah. Moving. Did we cover? We covered up to push, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm gonna move on to the. I'm just gonna run through these really quick. We're gonna move on to the pull pattern. Um, as you can see from the picture and like I described, I would usually think of pulling pull patterns that are I would usually think of pull patterns as useful for pulling objects, posture support, and climbing as well. Those are kind of the things that I see as a daily applications for them. But you would also be very surprised about the pull patterns because they not just help with the actual pulling up objects, but they're also very good stabilizers for all of your pushing movements as well. Um, I don't know if a lot of you are familiar, but a lot of bodybuilders will even warm up their lats before they go into their heavy pushing movements because they sit on the opposite side of the body compared to all of the pressing movements, and they're there to support and help with that as well. So they not just serve as only for pulling and posture support, but they do a lot more than that.
And I even sometimes would test it out too, warming up my lats a little bit before I try to do a bench press, and it actually would then like increase I would see an increase in strength because of the stabilizers in stabilizing my back muscles before I jump into the chest workout. And there's also a question from the chat. Can you recommend a calisthenics for push? Does push-ups count? How about pull?
So I used to do calisthenics. I think that's the beginning part of my fitness journey. I think during COVID time. And push-ups, I think they're a really, really fundamental piece of calisthenics that incorporates actually all muscle groups in the body. And there's so many variations you can do with push-ups, from like triceps to focusing on your chest to even your legs. You could put one leg on top of the other and do one leg push-ups. And they do provide that serious strength, but it also is such a versatile exercise that it could even be used as a warm-up move in regards to the like a push day or that push movement. I can say for pulling, um, I know also for me, I used to do resistance bands as a method for pulling, as they really help, you know, initiate um, those muscles involved in the pulling, like shoulders, and um, help, maintain that posture in the long term longevity.
And I would say if somebody would not be strong enough to do a pull up yet, or a push up, they could even go in the gym and do things like the bench press with lower weight uh, before they could do the push up, or with pull ups, they can use a resistance band under their feet and have them like have it like help a little bit with pulling up, or you can use a machine inside the gym which supports your pull up and makes it easier for you. So you
I,
don't just have to jump into a regular pull up yet. You could just work into it.
I've
That's
seen
what I was
people.
talking about. Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead, Fred.
I was about to say I've seen people use the resistance bands for like stuff like bench press as well. So if you're like not feeling ready to move up to the next plate just yet, you can put on the resistance band to make it just a little bit harder for your workout.
And do they use it while they're using the barbell? Like they'll wrap it around their arms, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like to create resistance in the pushing motion.
Mm-hmm. So like the
Not
band
as
is
just
on
another way.
the usually I think from how I've seen it, the band is usually on like the metal bar, like next to your where you usually hold, like place your hands, and
Mhm.
then the band would go around your arms or your shoulder, and then you'll create resistance from the stretching motion as you push up.
Also, wrapping around the bar and then wrapping around the body and then your bars, and then the bar as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's another way. Yeah, there's so many ways to create added resistance, and I think what I wanted to say and go back to was there's a definitely a variation for everyone, no matter the skill level, and you kind of have to do some exploring and see what you're capable of doing, and then whatever you're capable of doing, try to really get really comfortable and good at that before you move on to the next variation that is more complicated. So you're not you're not doing things that you're not capable of, but you're slowly building up the strength to do more advanced techniques over time, which is pretty much the goal of functional movement training to begin with.
And the certain muscles that you would use for pull is your lats, your rhomboids, as well as your traps as well, and your rear deltoids would be the muscles that you use for a pulling movement.
Yeah, and then now since we wrapped up the pull, moving on to the bend. The bend is also known as a hinge, and this is going to be all of your deadlifting exercises, or such as the barbell deadlift, RDLs, and all those types of variations. You can do them with one leg, and there's so many different ways you can perform the bend. And I like I talked about this before. That's like bending down and picking up objects are one of the most crucial and fundamental things that you're going to do in daily life. And I think it's important to be proficient in that movement. And then as far as the muscles that you're going to be working, it's going to be the glutes, the hamstrings, and all of your spinal erectors as well.
Yeah, it would be all the muscles on the posterior chain, which is kind of all the muscles on the back side of your body. A lot of people think it's more effective to, or even better looks wise, to train all the muscles on the front side of your body, but all the muscles on the back, which would be your posterior side, will help stabilize you where you can stand up straight and things like that. Another thing that would be another group of muscles that would also be targeted is your erector spinae muscles. These are the muscles on the side of your spine, on both sides of your spine, and those will help you with stabilizing your spine with like sitting up straight and just moving around with good posture.
I know that deadlifts are a big component of this, and I think a lot of people would agree with me that the form is really important with that, as it could be dangerous if you use it with bad form. So, would you guys agree or disagree that their deadlifts are dangerous in the sense, or you think they're just like misunderstood?
I think it's a skill issue. Um, like I said, and like I said before, and like I keep saying, there's a variation for anyone, um, and that goes to say that you should be choosing a variation that is difficult enough, but is not going to be that is not going to injure you in any type of way. And I think people overestimate um, their strength and their ability to perform something like a deadlift, and they end up going to failure or too close to failure, which ends up with injuries, and also their form may be very off and incorrect, and they may not approach the exercise with uh, um, control, which is also another huge factor. That if you're not performing these with control, that's not really expressing your strength with it, because you should be able, whatever variation you're doing, you should be able to do it with very good form as well as very good control. And when you have very good form and very good control, when you're doing all of these movements, um, things like injuries and problems like that should not really arise. So deadlifts are not bad. And when somebody tells you not to do a deadlift because it's too dangerous, it's just because they're not doing it correctly.
And
When it,
what would you say about people that would want to do more explosive ways of training, like if they're doing a bench press because they're like more of a fighter, they would want to be more explosive on the bench press. Would you say that takes away from the muscle gaining, or what do you think?
So I know there's always been a big conversation about slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers. I actually don't know how each one is actually created and built, but I know fast twitch fibers are targeted by those more explosive movements. So picking when to do it is also super important. Um, I know I did. This kind of goes contrary to what I was saying about if you don't have control over the movement, then you're not doing it correctly. But I think even while you're being explosive, you should still have a level of control and stability over the movement. Because if you're just exploding and flopping around recklessly, that's also poses um, another possibility for injury. So I think you can there can be still a level of control when you're doing explosive movements. Of course, it's not going to look like you're fully in control because you're moving as fast as you can, but you still can be in a lot of control while you're doing explosive type movements.
when it comes to explosive type movements, I think that's like what Bruce Lee does, right? For his training, he does like lower weight, like around a plate or a little bit more. I'm not too sure, but then he would do high reps, and then he would just try like when he gets back to the bottom, he would just try to jump back up as fast as possible. I guess since he's a martial artist, like Joshan said, that's probably why he does more explosive training to be able to kick faster or faster reaction time.
Yeah, and I would say I think training is different for every type of athlete. A runner would do something different compared to a fighter or an NFL athlete. Everybody has different types of training, which would aid in their performance in a game or things like that.
And when it comes to deadlifts, depending like on the form and the movement, you can change the focus from your back into your legs, right? Or is that not entirely true?
Yeah, I think if you approach it with a more focus on the hinge, you would focus more on the hamstrings, and that's why some people, when they want to really target their hamstrings, they would perform something like an RDL that requires less demand from the spinal erectors. So that since there's less demand for the spinal erectors to stabilize, then it'll it'll make way for more hamstring activation. But it just comes down to like what exercise variation you're picking, and if you don't know what variation you want to do, I think it all comes down to exploration. You should try all of these, um, given that you are confident that you're going to be able to do it without hurting yourself. If you have any concerns or any confidence issues when going into a movement, that's usually a good indicator of uh, of not doing it alone. And if you
And
want to try
mm,
try to do a certain movement, and you're on the edge of where you think you can do it, but you also still have some doubts, that might be time for you to maybe invest in someone like a personal trainer, or just have someone that's knowledgeable in any of the movements or whatever movement you're trying to do, and they can help and assist you.
And you can even ask
and
anyone at
mm,
the gym to spot you, right? Because
yeah.
I feel like a lot of people will be willing to do that.
Yeah, that you'd be surprised the amount of people that would be willing to assist you in the gym, whether it be critiques or spotting in general. Everyone that I've seen in the gym, no matter how mean they may look or big and muscular they may look, they're very nice, and uh, um, they're very kind people, and they're very willing and passionate to show you anything or any information as far as fitness.
And they know everybody in the gym is trying to work towards something, work towards a goal of making themselves better physically. So I don't think it's something to be shy about. Uh, like if you need a spot, just go ask somebody, and they'll be there. And I just want to say as well, some people even do a sumo deadlift, which would I think it will target the legs a lot more than the conventional deadlift as well. Which goes back to your question before.
When do you guys think it's like the right time to start using a belt, or do you think you should use a belt even if you're doing low weight?
I don't have any personal experience using a belt, but I think if you're finding that you want something to help brace, because that's pretty much what you use the belt for, is to brace your core and have extra stability. If you're using a high enough weight where you think you would need a tool like that, then I think you should. But my kind of way of approaching functional movement training is that I want to use the most basic equipment possible. I don't want to have to put on crazy straps or excessive equipment to do my movements, because when you're doing everyday movements, you don't have a belt on, you don't have wrist straps on, you don't have all of these things on. So being able to do these movements without the use of stabilizers is, I think, more revealing of someone who is proficient in functional strength.
And I would say having a belt on would be more like a power lifter if they wanted to do a high amount of weight. I have used a belt before when I did squat, when I did 1 rep max, and I would say it does help really a lot when it comes to keeping your body like straight, and also keeping your core supported as well. I think if you want to gain muscle and not focus on the more powerlifting aspect, I think going with lower weight and higher reps, as well as not using the belt, will definitely help improve your stabilizer muscles as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then the last two that we have are the twist and the gate. I'll start with the twist first. As far as daily application, these exercises that you do are going to help with things like throwing, reaching, and also turning while carrying loads. And sorry, I apologize for my camera again. I think I need to invest in a new one at some point. But
yeah, this happens every podcast, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're the one that bought it for me, so maybe I should try to see it on my own. Okay, let's move on from that. Like I said, as far as daily application, it's going to be throwing, reaching, and also turning while carrying loads, and those are very common movements in everyday life. And the way you can train it is through exercises like Russian twists, cable chops, and the Pallof press. You can look all of those up, or you can just Google rotation and anti-rotation patterns. And what these are also going to help you do is, especially with the anti-rotation patterns, it's going to help better transfer your force output. So if you have a very weak and flimsy core that moves around a lot, the force that's transferred from your legs all the way to whatever body part you're using or whatever movement you're doing, the force that's going to be transferred from the ground up, if you have a very flimsy core and weak core, it's not going to be able to fully translate, and you're gonna it's gonna kind of leave leaks in your force output. And if you have a super strong and stable core, that's gonna help with force transfer from the ground to whatever you're doing, and it's gonna make it much more effective. And that's why I think, especially with free weight movements, that's why when you see people transfer from free weights, machines to free weights, you'll see how they you would expect them to be very strong at the free weight exercise, but they actually end up performing very underwhelming because of the limiting factor is those stabilizer muscles, because their force is not able to be transferred properly because their whatever stabilizer muscles are weak, um, they're they're not in place to help that transfer of the force.
And the types of muscles that you would use for the twisting movement are your obliques and abdominal muscles. And I would say another thing that people could do to use functional movements to improve their core is maybe even trying jujitsu or wrestling. During the whole time you're doing jujitsu or wrestling, you have to embrace your core muscles to twist or move around wherever you're going. Alex, what do you think? Because I know you've done wrestling for a little while.
I think definitely I agree with you that the core is involved in a lot of aspects of wrestling, in addition to the cardio aspect where you're just there to just shear down pounds of fat at every single practice. And I'm sure I know you too, Sahan and Joshan, you guys go um, martial arts, right? 3 times a week, where you do Muay Thai, boxing, and wrestling, right? I'm missing something?
No, that's mainly everything. And yeah, we're
Mhm.
all you're it's mostly a cardio intensive sport, but you also have a lot of demands as far as rotation and anti-rotation, because when you're throwing things like punches and kicks, you have to really turn them over. And if your if your obliques and your abdominals are not strong enough to rotate, then you're pretty much lacking power, because all the power comes from your legs pretty much. It comes from your legs, and the core is what pretty much helps transfer that power to outwardly.
Mhm.
But
And
I'd
yeah,
argue,
go ahead.
I'd argue that I think not just for wrestling and martial arts, I think all athletes could benefit from a better core, wouldn't you say? Because I think in every sport, the core is activated in one way or another. Even like in golf, the whole swing is based on how strong your core is.
Yeah,
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 And
I
like,
would say yeah, every single type of sport you would do a rotating movement. So if you are someone who wants to get into more sports, I would say you could try wrestling or jujitsu, but like even doing a sport like golf will definitely engage your core and make your core a lot stronger than before.
Would you
yeah.
say that like the difference between free weight and machine is like also has to do with mind muscle connection? Because like with Smith machines, as you said, the muscle is more isolated, so it's easier to focus on that one particular muscle. But during free weight, would your attention be divided between your stabilizer muscles and the muscle you're trying to hit? So it'd be harder to focus on using your mind muscle connection.
I think mind muscle connection in the scope of functional movement training is overrated. I would I would only really care about mind muscle connection if I'm focusing on growing that specific muscle. So of course I would opt for something like a machine, which is going to isolate it a lot better. But as far as functional movement training, it doesn't really matter what muscle you're feeling. What matters is the output that you're producing. Are you able to lift this over your head? Are you able to bend down and pick up an object? It doesn't really matter what exact muscle you feel when you're doing it. It's just the ability of you to be able to do all of those certain activities. That's what's important, and that may be that mind muscle connection is, I think, is more relevant in something like bodybuilding where aesthetics matter.
so leading off of that, I know Prit just talked about this. So Sahan, you recently explained to me what Pallof presses were. And I was wondering, in that sense, would you say that crunches and sit-ups would be outdated compared to presses for the muscle mind connection?
I would say I would say they serve different purposes. Something like a crunch would pretty much focus on spinal flexion. You don't really see like as far as these daily activities, spinal flexion is not something that's going to be occurring at all times. Of course, it depends on what sport or activities you're doing throughout the day, but you're going to see that anti-rotation um, leads to a lot more functional movement benefits. But I think the mind muscle connection doesn't really matter when it comes into that. Of course, you kind of want to have a good idea of what you're training, but it's not the most important thing. But I think that was also another misconception that was brought up in my exercise prescription class. We kind of debated whether crunches were very useful or should they still be incorporated or are they outdated for abdominal training? I think you should still be training crunches to some degree. Of course, it depends on all of your daily needs, but um, rotation and anti-rotation patterns are much more suitable for functional training, and they're going to translate a lot better into all of the movements you see on the screen. And I think we do have one last movement, which is the carry and gait pattern, and this is pretty much self-explanatory. Like I said, um, um, it's pretty much we're going to focus on the core stabilization while you're walking. So the gait also kind of counts as a core movement because it's going to be um, the main stabilizer for when you're performing it. Usually, you're gonna when you're doing a gait movement, you would usually be doing something like a farmer's carry or a single arm farmer's carry where you're just holding a weight in either one, like I said, one hand or both hands, and you're just gonna walk um, for a certain distance, and your core is what's gonna be stabilizing your body and keeping it upright during the duration of your gait exercises. And
And I would say it would also, if you hold something, I would also say it would engage your shoulders as well, your delts, besides your core. But things that would be more in real life situations is like carrying your child around, or even carrying things to put somewhere, things like that.
Like groceries, right?
Yeah.
And how would you guys say, like, if somebody wants to make the carries more challenging without adding weights, what would you guys say?
can you repeat that one more time?
I said, how would you make the carries more challenging without adding weights?
Without adding weight, you can actually uh, use carry something in one hand because you're gonna have to kind of compensate. The weight is gonna pull you this way, but
Mhm.
you're gonna have to use your core and your stabilizer muscles to bring yourself back upright. So that actually tends to be harder carrying something in one hand instead of both because you there's more stability demands for you to bring your body back to center line. But without weight, I think it's kind of hard to progress or make the gait exercises harder. But yeah, um, I think we finished with the 7 basic movement patterns, and now if we have time, we're gonna just touch on the planes of motion that you guys should be focusing on when you're doing um, or selecting your exercise variations. And these all kind of apply to what we saw with the movement pattern. So what you want to do is pick a movement pattern, but also make sure that that movement pattern is targeting each one of these planes. And most movements occur in the sagittal plane, but some people or a lot of people usually neglect the other planes, such as the horizontal and the frontal plane.
And as we're talking about the sagittal plane, well, all three planes, everybody's gonna be using. in their daily life. Like the sagittal plane will separate your body from left to right, and you'll be doing movements like squats, running, things like uh, things like that, like front to back movements. And also the horizontal plane would or transverse plane would be for the twisting movements, like Russian twists, or like kind of like doing your core, using your core. It would be you for example, it would be like if somebody was throwing a punch, using swinging at a golf ball, uh, things like that. And as for the frontal plane, it will split your body from front to back, but you will be doing movements from side to side, like jumping jacks and and things like that are moving you from side to side.
Yeah, and then also which ones did you cover? You covered sagittal, horizontal. Also, the horizontal plane is commonly called the transverse plane, and a lot of rotation occurs with that one. Usually, you're gonna be doing the exercises, like I said, the rotation and anti-rotation. Um, One thing to note is that not all exercises are gonna be able to have variations of them that cover all of these planes, but you just want to realize that in general you should be incorporating exercises or variations that hit all of them in general.
Because you may come up with a situation where you might have to use your be in your transverse plane or horizontal plane, so you might want to try to use things that might do exercises that would challenge that to get used to things like that. Like we might be in a position where you have to turn or twist in a certain way. So I think using these exercises will definitely help you in your daily life.
And another thing I want to note, I kind of have a little side note of some research that was done as far as what the benefits were of training in all planes. And it says that training in all planes enhances neuromuscular control and reduces non-contact injury risk in sports. And also, there was another set of data that showed that approximately 70% of ACL tears are low energy, non-contact injuries, and also non-contact injuries in general represent 26 to 58% of all injuries in sports, which I think is a super big problem. And the fact that you can reduce non-contact injury risk in not just sports but in daily life is super important, because it's it's very unfortunate when you accidentally misstep or do something wrong, and that can literally be the fine line between you being okay and then even tearing an ACL. I've seen so many or heard so many stories of ACL tears that were just simply from people misstepping or moving incorrectly. And the fact that when you train in all of these planes, that's gonna enhance your body awareness and neuromuscular control. That sets you up for much more success as far as injury risk. And yeah, then after after taking that into consideration, I kind of want to expand on into the benefits or the overall benefits of functional strength training. And just to list it off for you, number one, it's going to improve your real life strength, and the movements that you're going to do are mimic lifting, carrying, pushing, and pulling. They're all going to be representative of things that you see in daily life. Number two, it's going to enhance your joint stability and mobility. And what this is going to do, it's going to reduce your risk of falls and compensatory injuries, like I just said before. And three, it's going to improve your core strength and posture. Posture is definitely a big issue in today's day and age. Everyone is used to their phone and hunching over, and that's going to create a lot of issues with the neck area. And the fact that actually what I've noticed personally is when I've incorporated strength training, especially for my back and the pulling patterns, not in just the vertical but also the horizontal planes. I actually saw a lot of improvement in the way I held my posture. I was able to uh, be able to sit upright and have my shoulders back compared to before I did any of this type of training. So I think that's very important to note. And number four, it boosts athletic performance. So if you're involved in any type of sports, it's gonna increase power transfer speed and coordination with everything that you're doing sports wise. And number five, it's gonna support longevity. And I know Alex and us talked about this a bit earlier, but higher functional capacity is linked to independence in older age, which just shows that this is something that should be done as a routine that you incorporate weekly and even on a daily basis to really support longevity. And yeah, any other uh any other thoughts and questions from you guys?
Would you say that most injuries come from like not trained enough stabilizer muscles, or and uh, and doing these exercises will help strengthen those and reduce more injuries in the future?
Yeah, I would say not doing functional strength training would definitely cause muscular imbalances, um, and also would definitely target if you didn't use those functional strength training methods, you would probably target more of the main muscle groups while you're doing your daily tasks instead of targeting your stabilizers as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And anything else you guys want to add?
I heard that your bones also get stronger from these, from something called Wolf's Law, something similar.
Yeah, so Wolf's Law, um it's how I kind of it's not the same mechanism as how muscle is built, but Wolf's Law is um if I can give you like a good idea of it, it's kind of muscle building, but for your bones. So your bones actually um uh will undergo a lot of benefit from strength training as well, and bone density is will increase with um, increase in higher mechanical loads added to the body through all of these different movements. And Wolff's law, like specifically, describes how bones adapt and remodel in response to the forces placed upon them through through specifically mechanical load. And that's why you see astronauts doing exercises up in space because they want to maintain their bone density so that when they come back down to Earth, the gravity is not shattering and breaking their bones because it's become so brittle due to the lack of gravity in space. There's been no type of mechanical load or force pushing down on their bones in space, so they have to have some level of maintenance uh, through through resistance training in order to have that constant pressure and stimulus done to the bone. Because without that, you're not going to have um, you're not going to have strong enough bones to to support yourself. And stronger bones, same thing as muscles. It's just going to improve um, your durability in general.
Is that like a similar system to how like when you break a bone, for example, and it heals back stronger than before?
No, it's I can't really tell you exactly, but I know.
Well, when it comes to what Pritchett said, when you do fracture or when you do put stress on your bone or like injure it, there or have like little micro, you can have little micro fractures which would heal over the original bone. so that would make your bone a little stronger. But those would be things like if you're a fighter doing kicks on a bag or things like that to make your bone stronger. That's a different type of method.
And this might be like a dumb question, but do you think like how for muscle you need protein to get bigger muscle? For bones, do you think you need to intake like a calcium to get stronger bones from Wolff's Law, or?
I don't think you should focus on consuming any one vitamin or nutrient just for bone health. I think you should just aim to meet your daily needs or intakes for vitamins and minerals in general, and then you should not have to worry about bone health if you're meeting all of your daily requirements. But yeah, and if that's all, then I think we're gonna wrap it up for today. We definitely just there's so much to talk about when it comes to functional movement training, and it's hard to.
Did we want to go into a little bit of like how somebody should train, like when it comes to like the types of training, for strength, hypertrophy, or endurance?
I think because my plan for this episode was a little just to put the foot in the door. I think as we get on with episodes down the line, we can start to focus on hypertrophy and what rep ranges to target things like strength, hypertrophy, power, or endurance training. But I think this was kind of just a foot in the door. The thing with this is there's just so much information, and to kind of consolidate it all into one episode doesn't really tell the full story or tell the full story in the correct manner. So I think we can probably save it for.
Yeah, that'll be something that you guys can look forward to in the couple following weeks. Focusing more on how people should train, how hard they can train during a workout, and the different types of things they can do to like separate themselves from others.
So stay tuned.
Yep,
Mhm.
stay tuned for that. We have a lot of information coming your way. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us on today's episode. Make sure you guys please like and subscribe to all of our social media channels. We're here on Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And yeah, I'm very happy for you guys to be here today. And yeah, we will see you on the next Friday's episode.
See you guys.